You heard it here, folks. Chris Pratt is returning to do a Garfield 2, and the announcement video, it's something.
Oh wait, who ordered this?
You did.
What? Is this just the thing with Garfield franchises? They have to make 2 movies before admitting failure. Because a little Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties from 2006 is telling me yes. That's how we roll in this cruel world, making the same mistakes 20 years later. Because last year, the Garfield movie, coming out 20 years after Garfield the movie, was released in theaters. Hoping to get some of that Chris Pratt Super Mario Bros. Style $1.3 billion that didn't happen at all. It didn't exactly flop, but in total, it made $234.7 million. Adjusted for inflation, that's less than what DreamWorks made when they aborted the Aardman deal after Flushed Away. That's just gonna be my metric now. Soon I'll also add it did better than one Pixar's Elio to that list. At the very least, I'm pretty sure Garfield made a profit. Otherwise, why are they doing this? I mean, making $230 million on a $60 million budget certainly explains a lot. Half of that was probably Chris Pratt's fee, to be fair, which will only be all the more for the next movie. At most, we're looking at less than $50 million for the animation itself, which tells me that this animation was outsourced within an inch of its life, because the production behind it is confusing company-wise. See, you have Sony distributing it, but this is not a Sony animation movie. They're too busy becoming the new Pixar with K-pop demon hunters to make the Chris Pratt Garfield movie. No, this was but under the Columbia Pictures label for distribution, whilst Pause Inc. produced it and D-Energy Animation actually made it. D-Energy Animation being a division of the British Indian special effects house D-Energy, who have worked on a staggering number of movies since starting up in 1998. Like, it's basically half of the releases each year, so there's way too many to list. From Billy Elliot in 2000 to a Minecraft movie this year, yes, that's real, it's like 1,000 movies they've worked on. But on the more recent animation end, they are much easier to break down. On the DreamWorks front, now a full-time outsourcer, D-Energy Animation have provided work for Trolls Band Together. And to my surprise, both of Locksmith Animation's major offerings with That Christmas and Ron's Gone Wrong. They were even the studio that Netflix got to take over from Blue Sky on Nimona, so fair play to them. And that's not the only saved movie on their resume, as apparently the upcoming Coyote vs. Acme is also one of theirs that they produced the animation on, or at least assisted. So yeah, they've been around, with Garfield being very much on that list. But could we please have a Nimona 2 instead? As for Pause Inc., for those that don't know, they are a company that solely exists on the Garfield brand. Basically, if Disney never went beyond Mickey Mouse, and that's all that they had. That's their one bit of bread and butter, so if you're ever wondering why these movies seem to fight their way into existence, it's because there is a whole company relying on the damn cat and immediately associated friends. But yes, Pause Inc. were apparently pleased with that little $230 million. Meanwhile, Inside Out 2 made over $1 billion around the same time. But now they're back, and faster. Just ignore the terrible reviews this thing got, and the comparisons to the far more superior parenting story for Garfield. Because I certainly didn't like it, and its out-of-touch attempts to be down with Gen Z. It's not as egregious as the new Smurfs movie, so I'll presume, but it's definitely there, because Chris Pratt posted on his social media that Garfield 2 is coming. Yay. Or in his words, Garfield 2 written on a pizza. You know, pizza, lasagna, close enough, just fold it in half or something. In which he goes, "Who ordered this?" Followed by, "You did." Did I? I didn't order this. Who made this order exactly? Alongside the caption, "Your favorite house cat is making a comeback. Garfield 2 coming soon." Bold of you to assume no one else in the world has a cat and would prefer Garfield over them. But this is very much a movie already in action. Arguably, the marketing has already begun. And you remember how nuts their social media team went on the first one? But judging by the mid-box office, I wonder if it actually worked. But maybe that was the strategy, and they went for viral marketing to save money so that they kept the budget not too far beyond that $60 million production and Chris Pratt in their pocket. Alas, why we currently have Chris Pratt presenting the movie title in barbecue sauce. And with Mario coming out round the corner, is this guy doing any movies outside of animation at the moment? Jurassic World's moved on without him, and I guess he can be in the Avengers, but what is the guy doing right now? Oh yeah, there's that Electric State movie on Netflix. That was the most expensive streaming movie ever and massively underperformed. But between presumed MCU antics, Chris Pratt has indeed found time to voice the lasagna-eating fireball again. A performance that read just like his Mario, in that it's perfectly fine, but someone else would have done it so much better. It's just celebrity casting. And at this point, I'd prefer Bill Murray. Although honestly, I think if Bill Hader, for example, was the guy getting all this work, we'd be on the better timeline. He clearly at least has, you know, the tone for voice acting as well as acting, and it shows. Still, we know he's locked in for a very different cat in his damn hat now, so we'll see how that goes. Gee, I wonder which will be more popular. Hey there, thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more announcements and animated movie news. We'll get around to a terrible on the Garfield movie, and then we'll get around to a review on Garfield 2. It's all in the schedule somewhere. Alright, back to the second half. But anyway, with regards to the Paws Inc. universe and another company living off the royalties of one guy's work, they are heading in for another go, alongside all prior involved parties to the first movie. And get ready, because it's one of those, how many company logos can you possibly add to the start of the movie? Because you've got the likes of Columbia Pictures, Alcon Entertainment, Double Negative, One Cool Group, Paws, Prime Focus, Stars Collective Films Entertainment Group, and Wayfarer Studios. Did you get all that? I don't want to get all the logos. I don't want to edit them in, I'll be honest. And it indicates exactly why this movie took from 2016 to 2024 to get made. Just a production trail on a platter right there. So by that logic, I guess we'll get this movie in 2032? At the very least, 2027 would be my basic guess, 3 years after the last movie kind of being the standard. I'd be surprised if 2026 was the release, considering how stacked next year is already set to be with animated sequels, although they didn't seem to care being in vicinity to Inside Out 2. Clearly they're going by the beat of their own drum, and hey, if the animation's that cheap, I would assume it's efficient, so maybe it is only 1 year away. The marketing has technically started. Or maybe Chris Pratt's supposed to have a bit of a pause. I mean, the other Chris Pratt-led franchise in Super Mario Bros. 2 is also coming out next year, so we'll see. And that will very easily overshadow Garfield by some margin. Besides, I know other actors have done double bills before, but with Chris Pratt, you know, his two iconic character voices have so little vocal variation. So, you know, maybe not. And of course, the aim for this secondary movie is for it to probably make more money than the first. What a surprise. Although, I'm just not so sure people are really after that. Again, you've got a less than $250 million box office, with an opening weekend of just 24. 2 digits. Well, 8, but still. I'd point to Elio for being considered a disaster with a $21 million opening, but that of course had the infamously ballooned budget of $150 to $200 million. At $60 million, that was successful for the Garfield team, and maybe it's a sign that they are spending too much money on movies in general, especially in animation, and it's over-bloated. But then you have the reception for Garfield Pratt as well. You've got a movie with a 37% Rotten Tomatoes score, and I'm certainly someone who thinks that tracks. Are you really gonna have the people who actually saw the first movie heading back in for more lasagna? I've been trying to find some numbers on its streaming performance at least, maybe that justifies it like a Moana 2 scenario, but I just can't find anything on it. But hey, maybe they just had a look at it and thought, enough people caught it at home, so let's just do another one. That would make sense, because I just can't find any data on it. They seem pretty confident about it though. The writing's on the pizza and they have a pretty strong idea that we've ordered it. So I guess we're just gonna have to take it. We got any more family members for Garfield to butcher? Or is it literally gonna be they'll bring in a second Garfield? Can you imagine a twin brother? You can take it or leave it. Hey, maybe they'll learn from the first movie and just make Garfield a baby for the whole thing this time. I mean, that's kind of most of the bait of the trailer anyway. Rather than just pulling a Scoob. Again, just stick to the origin story. Go from there, maybe. Just put a baby version of the character on the poster, despite them being their regular adult self for almost all of the movie. We love deceptive marketing. And hey, you could even cheap it out without having to pay Chris Pratt because the kitten was silent. Maybe then it would actually make your movie artsy because you have to use animation to tell the story, not deadpan. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not really fussed about this movie coming out. I'm not even annoyed, to be honest. I'm just fully uninterested. I'll of course watch it when it comes out, and it'll likely be awful like the first one was. It'll make some money that looks underwhelming for the associated IP, but will find a way to be justifiable to make this a trilogy anyway. And Garfield 3 will come out 3 years later. And I'll make reviews along the way because that's how I make my money. A formula, really. But that does raise a point about this whole Garfield revival as a whole, which I'd also kind of pose to being the continued butchering of the Smurfs. Like, are these kind of properties even relevant to a modern audience? Sure, if they're good enough, you can make them relevant. You know, we've seen that happen. But then you have examples like Transformers 1, where even the good stuff based on old IP is falling out of fashion, perhaps. And the thing with the likes of Garfield and the Smurfs is these are movies that are not even doing great stuff with them. instead actively moving away from the spirit of their origins and trying to force-feed modernization into them. Just doesn't work. But at least sometimes they have a little bit of pride, I guess. The old influencer Smurf is apparently deleted now in the Smurfs movie, or at least the marketing. I think they're just a different type of Smurf now. For a property without much social relevance, I commend Garfield 2024 for making as much as it did. Maybe another strange take on viral marketing will help it along, but come 2026 or 7, I just can't see this one doing too well either. Or even as well as the first one. Well, but I guess we will see. It's coming one way or another. For now, though, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on Garfield 2. I'd love to hear all your thoughts and more. What can you possibly do in this universe to make it good? I would pitch, yeah, the origin story. The cutesy, kitteny bit. The non-Garfield talking part of the Garfield talking movie. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!